Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Two Limes and a Lemon podcast. This week we journey still through the woods while we check out some of Elijah Wood's early roles, and this week we're looking at Radio Flyer. So if you've not seen it before, stop the podcast and come back once you've watched it.
Are we having theme music? Like, how do we... Is it just start with us talking?
Yeah, Dave's going to do us some, like, a jingle, I think.
Dave!
Nah.
Danielle.
Two Limes and a Lemon. So with me this week and every other week is Danielle and Natalie. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey, guys. And you are?
I'm Elijah Wood's number one fan. My name's Dave, and I'm the reason why we'll continue to watch these goddamn films. But I've been really sort of like impressed so far at the Elijah Wood films, so I have not seen a really bad one yet, but I'm sure there'll be one coming up soon. Saying that, this week we're looking at Radio Flyer. It's a film that kind of mixes childhood imagination with some sort of real tough realities, I'd say. We're not here to make much light of anything. Instead, we're going to talk about more of the story, the performances, and why this film sticks with certain people. So settle in as we revisit Radio Flyer.
Real quick, I think it's important to say there's a lot of serious themes in this movie. We're not going to go into them too much because we're kind of a light podcast, but if you do have issues with child abuse, maybe listen to one of our other episodes.
Right, okay, so before we even look into the film, first we look at this thing called What Have You Been Consuming? So that could be anything from a film, a TV show, actual food, pretty much what you've been doing that week. So Nat, what have you been consuming this week?
Haven't been doing much in the way of media, so I was trying to think about what's been like on my mind recently, and I don't know about you guys, but it's obviously leading up to Christmas, so it's a bit about like getting Christmas presents. What do people want? Like how early do you guys start your Christmas shopping?
Until the last minute, probably.
Last minute?
Yeah, probably like lastminute.com.
Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty much like a 15th of December shopper.
That's terrible. That would do my head in.
15th? That's not so bad, though. I think in the US, a lot of people wait until Christmas Eve to do shopping.
Really?
Yeah.
But there's been nothing left.
Yeah. That's why Christmas Eve is wild, yeah. But I guess they have sales and they try and get rid of stuff. Here's a question for you guys. Do you guys have Black Friday over there?
We do now, but we didn't used to. That's one of your little imports that you've sent us. But
You're welcome.
I would say like 15 years ago, I don't think we did have Black Friday. But now it's like, when it first came over here, we had like people fighting in Asda over TVs and stuff. But now a lot of it, more of it's online, so people don't really go and flock to the shops like they used to.
No.
It's not so much this way anymore, but like I would say in the 90s, people would go at like 4 a.m. and camp out at the doors to the stores to get the deals.
Yeah.
As somebody who doesn't like crowds, like, no thanks. I've done it a few times and it just stresses me out for the amount that I'm saving.
And it's obviously for like you guys, obviously you had Thanksgiving the day before, so it must just be like everybody's like knackered, full of food. Like, why are you going to be wanting to go out and like fighting people for a TV? What have you been up to, Danielle?
This week I wanted to talk about a show I've been watching. It's on Apple Plus and it's called Pluribus. And it's another take on like the pod people. So I thought it'd be interesting in the context of, what we discussed in our Invasion of the Body Snatchers episode.
You're obsessed with Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I know, it's the only thing. Ugh. It's gonna happen, that's why. But this one, we follow, I don't want to spoil too much, but I'll talk about what we know from the trailers. We follow this woman, Carol, who seems to be quite miserable, and whatever has happened in the world on the show, like everybody is like constantly like trying to make her happy. What do you want, Carol? Just like random people coming up to her. And it reminded me of our discussion about in the Invasion of the Body Snatchers episode when we were talking about what happens after the invasion. Like what is the end, like what are these pod people going to do after everybody's a pod people? And so it doesn't answer that per se, but I think it's an interesting take on this story story that's been done several times. And yeah, I'm excited to watch it. It's created by Vince Gilligan, who did Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. But apparently he also was a writer on The X-Files.
Oh, okay.
What I really liked was how they got to the pod people in this series. Like, I thought they did a really interesting take on that, and I don't want to spoil it at all. But there were moments in the premiere episode that were kind of like chilling to me even. So I highly recommend.
What's it on?
Apple Plus. How about you, Dave?
I've been consumed by decor and plumbers and carpet fitters and flat back furniture. Put a bed together today. That's how mad it's been. And I've still, after this podcast, got to put a wardrobe up. I've also been checking out that Google Gemini a lot. So I've been throwing in pictures of my rooms and sort of asking it to put things in certain places. And my manager told me about it and said, oh yeah, you can just do whatever you want. You can just throw pictures in and it will kind of do a nice design thing. We're going to look at these two little souls that captured our hearts in Radio Flyer. I've never seen Radio Flyer. I don't know about you two. Do you know what? Did you see it at all?
I remember the trailers.
I have. This is my second time watching it. I watched it a long time ago. It was on. Funnily enough, it was on like a Sunday afternoon. And now looking at it, I'm like, I don't know how it was on like a Sunday afternoon TV because
so dark.
It's quite dramatic. But yeah, I had watched it. I remember enjoying it, funnily enough. I think it was probably because when it's on, like, we used to call it like terrestrial TV, like I probably hadn't seen a film like it before, so it stood out to me as being like interesting. But yeah, I didn't really remember the I think because obviously I was younger, I didn't really understand what was going on as much. So although I enjoyed the film and it's like, oh, some boys are building a plane out of a little wagon, like I don't think I was really as focused on what was going on behind the scenes as much at looking at it from younger eyes.
Well, maybe through younger eyes, that's the stuff that sticks out is the imaginary and the building and the fantastical stuff.
Yeah, that's what I think. I like the big buffalo and stuff like that. So I probably was like, oh wow, this is cool. Not understanding what was actually going on.
And as you grow up, you kind of watch it again, knowing what it's actually about. I mean, we watched the trailer, didn't we, first? And I thought it was all about them just trying to like fly somewhere and making a plane or something, or becoming
that was my
pilots.
They thought it was going to be like Fly Away Home, he said. I was like, it's not the geese, no.
That was my experience of it too. I had never seen it. I had only seen the trailers that make it look like a real classic Disney film where it's just like
Bound.
These two kids. Yeah, they're building this radio flyer and they have these adventures. Listen to this like super heartwarming music.
Yeah, and then turn it on its head. It's about child abuse.
Do you know what? It's kind of like Bridge to Terabithia. In the trailer, they showed all these like they're going on a fantasy world and like all this stuff, and then it's like actually it's a lot more darker than that.
I hate that film. I was so angry.
Is it because you wanted all the fantasy bits?
Yeah, I went in there thinking it's fantasy, and then it was all just like make believe, and then I felt like when they killed off the girl, they just ran out of plot, so they were like, "Oh, we'll just kill her off." I was so angry in that cinema.
I thought that was good.
Might have to watch it again when we have a Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Playthrough.
I think this fits into this group of films where somebody, especially a child's imagination, covers up the darker aspects of the story. And for me, I think it didn't balance that as well as I've seen in other films. I think for the film, the fantastical elements are more in the foreground, and you don't really see the sad elements. They're alluded to, but you never see it directly. And then somewhere at the end, you realize what's really been going on. I think the one that popped into my mind was that Monster Calls movie. Do you remember that, Dave?
I loved that. Was amazing, that film.
And also to a certain extent, Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. But I found this, whenever the tone switched in this and it got super dark, like it really hit me whenever you kind of realized what was going on in this one.
So just a little recap then, so we can tell what this film's actually about, because we're kind of like alluding that it's terrible and torturous in terms of like what happens to the kids. But it stars, little Elijah Wood, and it's two brothers and their mum, and it starts off with them obviously leaving the dad and just driving away to their aunt's. And it's kind of like you're building this family relationship with those three, and then they get...
Like a road trip movie at the beginning, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, it's like a little road trip movie. Yeah, that's right. And then she meets someone new, and then it's this dad character coming in called the King.
The King,
or
yeah.
shouts out like abuser right there, and then it turns to these kids that I don't know if you want to carry on the rest of the story now, because I can't really remember what happens after.
So basically, the King, he, at the beginning, before he and the mom get married, is like the perfect stepdad, like taking the kids to different places and things. But it does sort of creep in before they get married, because I believe there's a fishing scene before they get married where Bobby, who's the younger of the two brothers, so Elijah Wood plays Mike, and Joseph Mazzello, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Who was the little boy in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Tim from Jurassic Park, but very little, bless him. He seems to, for some reason, irk the King, and he seems to be at the forefront of his anger, and he obviously takes it out on him. Eventually, the altercations come like more and more, to the point where Bobby says that he's got a good idea. He has got this radio flyer wagon for Christmas one year, and he's gonna make it into, I think it's all over the place, to be honest, because even before we meet the main characters, there is a scene where the town that they lived in 10 years prior, somebody else had tried to make a plane and it had failed, and he'd like broken his legs. But there's like a fable or like a thing about this, so legend, thank you, about this kid, and he has the same idea that they're going to make their radio flyer into an actual flying vehicle. And that's pretty much the premise of it, just that obviously all this stuff's going on in the background. The kids don't really have any friends in the town, Mike especially.
They move in the summer, so they haven't met anybody in school yet, so they spend the day sort of wandering. I think they even say that they're going to go adventuring or something to that effect. So they spend every day, to stay away from the house, going out and imagining things and creating their own fun, because it's what I don't even know what decade it is. It's older times.
Thinking of Elijah Wood in this, harsh comment, but I kind of feel like the other kid was a much better actor than Elijah.
I would have to agree. But I mean, he was still good, Elijah, obviously, from a child actor perspective.
Yeah, I kind of felt like Elijah looked like he was acting, whereas the other kid was just giving it a real performance. I could believe him, but I sort of saw Elijah Wood not really playing this kind of like older brother character. It was kind of like, I've got to go do this now. I've got to say this line. He was all right. He was good. But compared to the other kid, I was just like, I think we found someone that's upstaging you here, son.
I think the thing is with the younger kid, Bobby, you felt it. Like, you felt he was scared. You could see it on his little face. Whereas I feel like the character of Mike was, although he was protective of Bobby, there were a few instances where he could have done more, I felt. So his character was not unlikable, I think that's too strong of a word, but like the instance where he left him to go off with the I say friends in like quote marks, because they weren't his friends, because they'd literally bullied him the whole movie, and then he had a chance to go out and play with them, and he ditched his brother to go and do it. So I feel like they made instances where Mike was less easier to connect with than Bobby.
I don't know. I think Bobby was like an old soul, like just like wise beyond his years kind of stuff.
He saw stuff, didn't he? Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention the old Tom Hanks.
Keep that in.
Oh, do you know what? When we first turned it on and it was Tom Hanks, when we took it was like, I can't remember where we watched it, like YouTube, I think it was on, and we were like, have we got the right movie? Like, I don't think Tom Hanks is in this movie. So we like had to quickly like Google it and like, oh no, he is in it. Okay, well we've got the right movie.
It was such a surprise for me too. I was like, surprised Tom Hanks. He plays the older Mike, and he's now working, like he's clearly has some role at the
same airport, yeah.
Like, it's not clear if he's a pilot or a mechanic or if he works at the snack shop or something. I don't know. But there's two kids that are playing on the tarmac.
They're his kids.
And he was like, let me tell you this story about how abused people were.
Let me tell about your uncle.
And then midway through the movie, it occurred to me, I was like, whenever it got really dark, I was like, are we imagining that he's like telling this story to the kids over burger and fries? Because of that, we get Tom Hanks narrating throughout the film.
But I felt like he was a bit like meh about it. Here's my lines, I'm just going to deliver it normally.
I think it's like Tom Hanks is... I've heard so many films narrated by Tom Hanks now. It just seems like normal, almost.
Well, and to put it into context, the Tom Hanks we're getting here is coming out of his, like, comedy film era before he's going to be the Tom Hanks that we know of. Well, like the Oscar-winning, like, everybody's dad, granddad, Tom Hanks. Like, this is the guy who was in Bachelor Party and Money Pit and, like, a bunch of, like, silly sex comedies. Bosom Buddies TV show. So he didn't have the gravitas of an older Tom Hanks. Oh, I just wanted to say, I didn't notice the same failings of Elijah Wood's performance in this. I thought he was given less material than the other boy. The other boy had a lot that he had to convey, and, you know, I thought Elijah Wood did good being cute little kid again, cried several parts, and then, like, the, amazed kind of stuff, I thought was all very cute. Yeah. He was a cute kid.
His tears wasn't as good as that buffalo's tears, though.
Talk about the buffalo, please.
That was one of my favourite scenes. There's a few things I've got to say about that. When they're on their road trip from, I don't even know where they went
New Jersey.
from, but New
Jersey
to LA, right? But they stop off in the middle of nowhere at this, like, ranch that's got, like, one buffalo. And
25 cents for the buffalo.
In a sad little corral. Ugh.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. And then obviously the buffalo has like got tears, and Bobby, he's like, when you said like he's an old soul, this was the scene that came into my head when you said that, because he's kind of staring at the buffalo almost like he understands that this buffalo is lonely, and whereas Elijah's kind of looking at it with like awe of like, wow, a buffalo.
Yeah,
I feel like Bobby's like, this isn't right.
I would like to say the note that I wrote at this point was, he says something about like, I guess that's what happens when you're alone, and then I had like an existential crisis and said, am I like the buffalo?
Oh no.
Do you want to talk more about the buffalo scene? Because this gets to sort of a deeper point that I'd like to discuss.
Yeah. What does the buffalo represent?
Okay, well, before you get into your deep one, I would say she doesn't pay for admission to get into the buffalo place, even though he's out in the middle of nowhere. However, she has got money for petrol, and the admission's like 75 cents. Yeah. So I feel like the man that owns the buffalo ranch has been flogged by this woman.
I think he gave her free spears too.
Yeah, exactly. So he's clearly the best man in the movie.
I wanted to point a couple of points about the road trip. They sing the name game in one part, and little Bobby gets all upset because he says buck in the name game, and that of course turns it into fee fi fo.
Oh.
You know. And it reminded me, I don't know if you guys sang the name game when you were kids, but we would actively try and find ones that said swear words. So another fun one to do is Mitch, because it comes up, be by Bo bitch, and then you'd be like, and you were so clever as a kid.
But do you like peanut butter?
No.
Because that is all they existed upon for that whole road trip.
How far is it? 6 jars of peanut butter.
Do you have peanut butter in the UK?
We do.
Yes, we do. We're not that backwards, so we don't have peanut butter.
We just drink tea and biscuits.
Well, no. But I know how it's like ubiquitous over here. No, it's like we don't have Marmite over here. So there's things that aren't translated.
Okay. No, we do have peanut butter.
We don't have brown sauce in the US.
Or like HP sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is
see? So there are things but in the US, like, at least when I was a kid.
When I was a kid, an American like substitute teacher or they just brought an American in to talk to us, and as soon as he said, I was like, oh, we call our trousers, you call it trousers, we call it pants, and we were all like laughing because we think it's like underpants, and we're like, what do you call these? Like hands. He's like, yeah, we call them hands. We're like, well, what about this t-shirt? And they're like thinking like he's from some magical land where they just name everything backwards.
Before every kid had a peanut allergy, when I was growing up, like, that was the easy thing to feed kids. And, like, even for families that got government assistance, one of the major things that they would give them, and I think maybe they still do, is peanut butter. For me, that was like an after-school snack, like cheap crackers with peanut butter on them.
Yeah, but you were putting it on like a cracker. They were literally just spooning it out the jar.
No. He had saltines.
Oh, did
They
he?
weren't good crackers. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you guys have the red wagons like that?
No.
Is that like a thing? So that's a very traditional. Not so much anymore, but like from probably the 50s to the 80s. Like I had a red wagon.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what I did with it, but I do remember at some point my parents threw it out, and one of the neighbors took it out of our trash, and so I saw like a kid up the street playing with my red wagon, and it was trash. Like we didn't want it anymore. We threw it out, but the only child in me got so angry about it. I was like, "That's my wagon."
Aww.
What do you think the buffalo represents? Yeah, it burst through the shed. What was your thoughts?
It burst through their window, and I think that was at the height of all the stuff that was happening to Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does revert back to the fact of, the buffalo did, for me, represent, like, isolation and being on your own. Although there's people around you, they don't really know what's going on with you in your own sort of head. So although the buffalo was there and that man clearly treated him nicely, it wasn't right that he was still isolated.
Yeah. But I think it's another one of these elements where the kids are, like, their imagination is coming through in the hardest parts. So there's two of these, like, really fantastical, dreamlike sequences, and I really wish there were more of them, because I thought those were quite fun. And so you had the buffalo showing up one night, and I think that's after Bobby gets a beating again. And then there's a Bigfoot that shows up, and I can't remember when that crops up, but they see, like, Bigfoot in the window, and it turns out it's just the dog, Shane. They have a German Shepherd named Shane.
But it's actually played by... Dave looked it up when we were watching it, didn't you, Dave?
I did, yeah. He plays by the...
It was the guy that played Henderson's Bigfoot guy.
Oh, that's fun.
Same actor.
But I would have liked to have seen more of those moments. I thought that was the kind of stuff in it that I liked. The childhood magic realism kind of stuff. And personally, I would have liked more of that to be in the foreground without seeing just like the starkness of some of the abuse elements, which I said were just hard to watch in this. And I don't know if it's just partially because that child actor had such depth to his performance, or because they make it so believable, or the fact that the king, the stepfather character, is really made to be this monster. You rarely see his face. If you see his face, most of the time it's with sunglasses on. You only kind of see him from the neck down.
I did love that as a choice.
And I was actually disappointed later on when you saw him face on.
I did wonder, is that because at that point they had worked out how they were kind of going to overthrow him, so then they had the power, so then he wasn't a monster anymore, he was just a man, so then they let you see his face?
That's a nice concept.
I've just thought about that now, so I won't pretend I was like, had a moment where I was like, oh, they've done it because of that. I just literally thought about it now. However, in my notes, I have written down that it's set in 1969, going back to one of your other comments. Yeah,
there's no real technology, but there's also no... Oh, when you see the cars look rather old. But they're not sort of out on the streets with cars a lot. A lot of the film takes place in, like, the woods and fields around this house that they moved in. And so and they're wearing just sort of what look like hand-me-down clothes. Although I will say, in one part where they're in the there's a rainstorm, they both had on Georgie from It rain slickers on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, are they going to go sail a boat down the gutter? Another one of the sort of magical realism parts that for me didn't quite work because I didn't see where it was going or what the end goal of it was, is when they make the magic potion.
Oh, in the pressure cooker.
Forgot all about that.
Yeah, in the back of a comic book, they get this thing to send away for a recipe for a magic potion. And they make this thing that looks straight up poison. Like, it had broma seltzer in it and like a pound of ground beef.
It had dog poo in it.
Yeah, dog poo was in it, yeah. And they cook it in a pressure cooker on the stove, and it explodes all over. And so that's like another point where they're like, oh, this is definitely something that's going to make the king mad and we're going to get in trouble. But there was no ramifications for that except the fact that they put this extension cord that I think he used as a whip for, punishing the kid, and they stuck it in the oven. But it was so disgusting, and it was kind of out of left field.
I would say that scene, going back to the movie before, Avalon, when Elijah had lit the fireworks in the basement. It was the same sort of tension. I was like, he's done it again. Like, the first film, I was like, I couldn't watch because I was like, oh god, he's gonna set this building up in flames. And this one, I was like, he's doing all this and he's gonna get Bobby in trouble. And it was just like the same amount of tension.
And they're washing it up like little kids do, where they're just spreading it around.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's got like poo in it, and they're clearly not using any cleaner. It's just smearing it around the kitchen more.
Like, it had the color of like those bamboozled jelly beans, like the barf color flavor ones.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it was that sort of reddish brown. And it was all up on the ceiling and all over the walls. Oh, it was horrifying.
How about the mum as a character? Obviously, we've sort of spoken about the king. What's your thoughts on the mum?
I thought she was believable. The mum is played by Lorraine Bracco, who is a pretty well-known actress. I think she's most well-known for being the wife in Goodfellas. She was Karen. And I think she's portraying like a single mom really well. And also, like, she is just oblivious to it because she so wants to find love at the beginning, and then the rest of the film, she is working double shifts at a restaurant all day, so she is not around at all.
I mean, I liked her character at the start because obviously she had no reason to know what was happening. But once Bobby had been in the hospital the first time, then there was no way she should have ever let him, once he came out of jail, come back. So at that point, yeah.
They make a point of, after the king goes into jail, she realizes that she's not going to be able to financially be successful. Like, everything's falling apart. And that's sort of why she decides to take him back. Like, she decides to believe that he's going to change, takes him back. But, at the end of the film, he's gone again. And is it just because there's only one kid left in the household now that everything's fine financially?
Bobby took all the resources.
But yeah, I mean, to me, I was like, it doesn't matter if you're financially struggling or not. Like, if your man that's not their father, especially, has beaten your child,
you don't bring her back in.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way in hell she should have. I mean, she obviously knew people that she'd stayed with before. If it got that dire, I'm sure they would have helped her out again and let her stay there for a bit.
Speaking of dire situations, because me and Nat were like, why don't she get the sheriff? Even more so, the sheriff literally lives next door. So the whole... when she has to rush out and get help at the end to find her kid, she's like, I got to go see the sheriff. And we're like, oh, she's going to run. Why is she getting the car? It's like, oh no, because he literally lives next door. And then they're like, yeah, let's go down. Yeah.
It's not even like he lives. The sheriff's actual office. He's literally there.
Could easily just made friends with him.
It's madness. And I was like, yeah, and he probably could have heard what was going on.
He's like closing his windows.
Because he was yelling at those kids a lot. Or complaining that the king listened to literally one song over and over again.
What was the song? I can't even remember.
Gonna have some fun on the bayou.
Can't remember that bit.
Me and Dave were a bit shocked when the sheriff first introduced himself when they'd just moved in, and everyone's like running up to the sheriff's car to be like, the kids are really excited obviously because they've met the sheriff, and then the king just like walks back in and doesn't even say anything. And we were just like...
Not even that. He grabs the for sale sign out of the yard and just throws it in front of the house.
Yeah, we were like, if you're trying to be like undercover here and like lay low, I'm like, that's probably not the best way to like start the relationship with the local law enforcement.
The local law enforcement that is like patrolling the area on a regular basis, like just driving by all the time. Mm-hmm. Another element of the fantastical that I enjoyed was them building this radio flyer. So they get it in their head that they're going to build this flying machine so that Bobby can escape, and it then ties back to this legend of this fisher kid that was able to fly for a moment. And so I thought just the idea that they spent like the rest of their summer saving their money up through all these little schemes, like saving glass bottles to get the money, and they go to a golf course and they dig balls out of the water trap and they sell them back to people. and then they buy scrap, and they're just spending the rest of the summer in this like tiny little shack in their backyard building this thing. Like it's got like cardboard wings and things like that to it. So it's all very like the kind of things I think all of us did to some regard in childhood.
100%.
Yeah, I think this film with some other movies that they've done, but that are probably going to come up as well, and that we're going to watch from Elijah's like film bank, is I guess these 90s and 80s films. They do a really good job at selling the childhood kind of wonder. I definitely see elements of like when I was out with my friends when I was like 10 or younger. We used to go out and try and sell stuff, because we used to knock on people's door with our little like plastic like guitars or whatever and sing or something, or like paint rocks and try and sell them and stuff. So we used to like do these stupid little things.
Did you ever sell anything?
Yeah, because we just knocked on the same kind of like neighbour's door, and they'd be like, "Oh, here's 50p." We're like, "Yes!"
Oh my god, I've never done that. No.
Yeah, it was mad.
One day, me and my friend, the girl who lived across the street from me, this was just one day. We only got away with this one day and then got in big trouble for it. We took the phone book and we're going door to door to our neighbors trying to sell pages of the phone book for a nickel.
So we want to talk about our views on the ending before we sort of wrap this up.
Before we even hit to the ending, this ties into one theory about the ending.
Okay.
Is everybody on board that there were actually two kids?
Yes.
See, we did look up a few theories on this, and one of them is that Elijah Wood made up Bobby to deal with it was actually happening to him.
Yeah, I think Bobby's still alive.
People interact with Bobby. So if looking back on the film, you were like, the sheriff never interacted with Bobby, or the bullies never interacted with Bobby, then fair enough. But there's too many people that aren't main characters to the story that interact with him. So I think there was two children.
Definitely. Like that Nicole Kidman film. No, Naomi Watts, sorry. That Naomi Watts film where she's wearing that mask.
Oh, the Mummy Dearest one, or whatever it was.
Yeah, and at the end you find out that there's only one kid. Yeah, that did it the right way. But I think, this one, definitely 100%.
Or the Korean one. There was a Korean one about two sisters. I think it was called Two Sisters, and then they remade it.
Or even Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis not being there, and like nobody actually interacts with him. Yeah.
No, I think the way they can kind of get around that, you can still kind of believe that, is in the like very ending, Tom Hanks as Mike in the future makes this statement that basically like whoever tells the story kind of controls the narrative. Like they in theory, he could be telling this story having made up this brother that never existed and giving interactions that never happened.
See, I took him saying that whoever tells the story controls the narrative as the fact that Bobby didn't actually fly anywhere and he was probably killed.
I thought it was suicide.
I don't know if I believe the suicide one, but I definitely would say more that he got killed by the king.
Well, I thought it was two options. He was either killed by the king in that last scene, or not so much suicide, but by, horrific accident of that self-made flying machine. Yeah. Something that confuses it to me. We didn't talk about Samson, which is another thing I would have liked to have seen more in the film. When they move to the new house, they open up this clubhouse door in the back, and there's what looks like a big lizard monster, but then it just turns out it's this turtle that's got like a chain attached to it. Mm-hmm. And so then they're like, oh, this is Samson. He's our pet now. And so they take Samson on the flight. Samson is taken with them, but at the very end, the kids' reaction to hearing about presumed uncle die, or this horrible abuse story, uncle we never see of again, the reaction to it is that how we got Samson? And so I think the fact that Samson is the kid's pet also shows at least that it wasn't this idyllic ending. However, what I've read is the writer and director both believed that Bobby did fly away and go on adventures in the end. I could have believed that and said, oh, well, then it's like a magical realism story that has come true. If we saw adult Bobby, or the kids had met him at some point, or something like that. Apparently there was an ending that I don't know if they filmed it and didn't use it, or if they just never filmed it, where in the end, they're in the Smithsonian looking at the Wright brothers' original plane, and then next to it is the radio flyer. So it's like this legendary, real thing now.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, I could have believed it and I would have accepted that Bobby actually did all that stuff if, when they had received the postcard to say that he'd gone back to, like, the Buffalo Ranch, his mum would have been straight away like, we need to go to the Buffalo Ranch. But she's just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm glad he's there. And then obviously you start getting all these other postcards from around the world. At that point, I was like, well, he's definitely, like, to me, it seems, well, that is like a falsehood. Like, if your mum is like, tell me what happened to Bobby, she's like, and then she finds out Bobby's at the ranch and she's just like, oh, that's nice.
I feel like Elijah Wood wrote those letters to his mum and say, like, look, he's fine. And she's like, he's dead. What are you on about?
Yeah, almost like that. And she's kind of just like placating him.
Trauma's okay.
And then the comment I wrote is at the end. So after that happens, the ending of the film is like we have just watched the Amazing Journey or one of these like Disney films. It's the brightest, happiest, heartwarming music at the end. And I was like, did I just watch a film? Mm-hmm. Did I just watch a film that ended with a child being either killed by his abuser or dying in this horrific accident that ended with this like happy music that almost made it sound like the music was like triumphant. The music was
it was.
Bobby went on to have this adventurer's life. And I was like, this isn't sitting right with me. This is bizarre.
Because I guess watching it with adult eyes, you're like, no, that's not what happened. If you interpret it in a sadder way, like you said, triumphant music just doesn't fit the tone that it's set. So I put on Instagram, did Bobby die at the end of Radio Flyer? And we had 55% saying yes and 45% saying no.
And that's not an overwhelming majority.
The people have spoken.
People have spoken.
Natalie, you're the one who saw it as a child. Do you remember how you recall it?
I don't think I believed he died when I was little, no. But as an adult, yes, my interpretation is that he definitely died. At some point. I don't know at what point he died or how he died, but my interpretation is that he died, and then from that point onwards, the story about him flying around and having all these adventures was fabricated.
I will say I was glad they didn't kill the dog. I was highly upset whenever the dog looked...
Oh, thank God, yeah.
You were saying that if the dog was killed, Danielle would be like, I can't do this. I can't talk about this movie.
Yeah, I was like, Danielle's gonna riot if this dog dies.
And then the dog's limping in the end. Poor Shane.
That dog was a really good actor, actually. Shout out to Shane, the dog.
Okay, so wrapping up then, what did we rate Elijah Wood's performance, do you think, out of the 5 limes or lemons? Danielle, you go first.
I'll give him a 4. I thought he was great.
Nat?
I am going to give him a 3 out of 5 for Elijah's performance. Purely just because I felt like Joseph Mazzello did a more, realistic job, I suppose.
So, I'm going to give him a 2.
Whoa!
Oh!
Because, I don't know, Elijah, you didn't pull it out the back. I would have hired the other kid in the next film. I would have been like, yeah, you were right, but I'm bringing this other kid. Because I kind of felt like when Elijah Wood was crying, they kind of splattered tears on him a few times to make him look like he was sad. There was one bit when I was trying to focus and see if his eyes were red because he was crying. There was a bit where it was, but I was like, oh, how long did it take you to get there? Because there's a few cutaways.
Elijah, I believed your pain. I thought you were crying. Clearly somebody isn't the super fan, they think.
Well, if I'm a super fan, I can still be realistic and give him critiques in his performance as an 11-year-old in a high-flying drama like Radio Flyer. So what do we think about the... Do we want to go with favourite characters or favourite scenes? Okay, who's your favourite character in this film, Nat?
Bobby!
Yeah?
I think Bobby was the heart and soul of this movie. He was a fantastic child actor. Like, when you think of what weight he brought to that role as opposed to some other, child actors, I can't imagine anyone else doing it, really. He was very believable. Yeah, I think he stole the show for me. If I'm doing worst, I suppose the mum, just because I don't understand her letting the king back after Bobby had already been in hospital. But to a certain extent, also Mike, when he went off with his friends and he didn't protect Bobby. But he's a child, so he shouldn't have had those responsibilities. But the mum should have.
I agree. I really liked the kid who played Bobby's performance, but I'm going to give it to Shane, the dog. I thought, as you said, Natalie, this was a great dog actor. He's a German Shepherd. He just won my heart over. I was so glad he didn't die. Mm-hmm. He saves the day at the very end. I mean, granted, we've now established that Bobby probably goes on to his untimely death right after that, but right before it, Shane saves the day and allows them to release the stone, which then allows Bobby to plummet to his death. The worst, I'm going to say that group of kids who were the bullies, because they were all sort of undistinguishable. I didn't believe any of them. There was one that was supposed to be the leader named Victor. I don't know which one of them was Victor.
So I feel like, a good reason why to like Shane is, he knocked the thing out of the way so he could plummet to his death, but it's the idea that the dad wasn't going to take away the life. Bobby got to choose when he wanted to go, and they helped him with that, so that's why. So mine is a kind of mixture of yours. It begins with B and is an animal. Can you guess what it is?
The buffalo.
It is the buffalo.
But is it the real buffalo or the big buffalo?
No, the fake one, the gravelly voice, kind of like, yes, I am the buffalo. I am here to tell you the truth of what's happening in your life. But it was very mysterious. The costume was great because it was like an animatronic kind of thing, and it was a bit wacky. I wish there was more buffalo. My worst character, probably the sheriff, for not noticing sooner. Like, all the toys were all out and it was all smashed to pieces, and he could have just done something about it, probably. I don't know. Out of limes, how do you rate the film? I'll go first because I might die. So let's look at rating.
Just like Bobby.
Just like Bobby. Am I gone again? Am I still here?
No, you're still here. I can hear you.
So let's just rate the film. So me and Nat, we're the limes here. So we rate it out of 5. And Danielle is our treasured lemon. So she'll tell us what she thinks of the film as well out of 5. But first off, I think I'm going to give it a 2.5. It was all right. I wouldn't watch it again. I wouldn't tell people much about it. I would move on. Yeah, that's it really.
Okay, I gave it 3 out of 5 limes. I think it was well acted from everybody involved. Yes, it does deal with some serious issues, but I think it was done in a way that isn't like too traumatizing.
I'm going with Dave. I gave it 2.5. I gave it 2.5. I think there were I think the acting was great. I thought there were really interesting elements in it, and I think it could have been a better movie, and for me, it just wasn't.
I would have liked if the ending wasn't so obscure as those. I want to know yes or no.
Yeah.
And I'm going with Dave. I would have liked the buffalo to show up some more. I would have liked more of these crazy fantasy elements to shine through.
Yeah, okay, so that's the end of our podcast. Thank you very much for listening and seeing our thoughts of Radio Flyer. Again, if you've not watched it, go check it out. You can find it on many... Where did we find it? We found it on YouTube. So
yeah, it's actually on YouTube. Like, the free movie is on YouTube.
And I found it on Tubi.
Thanks again for coming on this venture into the woods this week. We've got one more of these movies to do next week. Does anyone know what the next one's called?
Deo. It's a TV movie with Elijah Wood and Delta Burke, and there are several versions of it on YouTube. So, barring any differences regionally, I think we'll all be able to see this. I've never heard of this movie, so it could be a real adventure for all of us.
Nice. So, let's bye from me.
Bye for me.
Bye.